Welcome to a podcast. I have the pleasure to be joined today with Jordons. So Jordons is a new coach which we have brought on with us here at JG Physique, and we're going to talk a little bit about his journey within the health and fitness sector, working with the people, and also how he's found the transition, most importantly, to online fitness coaching. So first off, Jay, again, it's lovely to have you on with us here. Give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself and how you got to this point.
Yeah, sure. I'm Jay. I've been in the fitness industry now for maybe 12 years. I started off, I did boxing when I was younger. I used to play track as well, and American football. Then when I came to England, I got into the gym. Really enjoyed it. I never really touched the gym before because most of my training was predominantly around boxing when I came here. And yeah, ended up finding a real love for the gym, love for people, and ended up making it my life. So I ended up studying sports science, nutrition, and the anatomy of the body, and then kind of progressed my studies from there. And ended up doing personal training within gyms. Loved it. Ended up having, I think, around 45 sessions a week. I think I ended up having, and then it's led me to online coaching with yourselves.
Good. I think that's kind of like it's almost like a cliche for people who come into the health and fitness sector. It's almost like a childhood background of whether it be sporting contexting or receiving some element or means of coaching for ourselves, and obviously we reap the benefit from it. We see the sense of direction and that leadership style that we receive as kids, and it's almost like that sense that we just want to replicate it and help people, like you say. We are in a trade for the people, so it's like finding out what circumstances people deal with, or what education parts that maybe they don't understand, or what interventions you need to make the right steps within their health and fitness. So obviously you said like that transition from sport into the health and fitness sector. What was that like, and what did you find most attractive to yourself in terms of making a career out of being within the health and fitness sector?
I think definitely you touched upon it then. I think for myself, and I think for most people, it is finding results, trial and error with yourself, and then kind of feeling like, okay, I want other people to feel what I feel. I want other people to have the passion, or get the teach the knowledge, or trying to teach them better form, or help them achieve their goals, just like I have. Because you see plenty of people in the gym, with incorrect form. And it's something that I told my clients quite regularly, is that you'll find within the gym, most gyms that I've been into, or most people that we speak to, they're busy professionals, very busy people. They're at a high level and they hold themselves to the highest standard. However, you find that within gyms and with the clients that I used to have, they'd work so hard at their businesses. However, when they come to the gym, they do the same thing day in, day out. Whereas if it was their business and their business was underperforming, they wasn't making enough money, let's say, their quarter or their annual, they're not making enough money, they would look at that and think, right, okay, how do I make more money? What do I change? What do I cut back? How can I market myself better? Whereas with their bodies, they don't. They do the same thing day in, day out, getting no better results. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're putting 100% into the gym when they go, but clearly something's not working and they don't change that. So they should run it like they run a business. Look at it, see how they can adapt and change things, then move going forward, rather than doing the same thing and hoping for a different result by doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think you mentioned two good points there. It's in terms of like, one of the first thing being hierarchy, right? So when it comes to their career, when it comes to their social lifestyle, when it comes to family lifestyle, you're going to commit yourself 110% to that, and you're going to create solutions to barriers, which is going to help you to prevail or benefit those around you or within yourself. Yeah. Whereas nowadays, what we're finding, like within kind of like general mindset, is that actually we're putting ourselves to the side too much, and actually we're not appreciating how that can actually have a detrimental impact on, like we say, social backgrounding and the way that you attain yourself at work and different things like that. Like, it's becoming a little bit more appreciated, I would say, but generally when I first got into the industry, it definitely most certainly was something that people weren't putting into consideration for. And I think that's because a lot of the time when it comes to health and fitness, it's more of a want to want than what we would refer to as a need to need. Like, everyone will look at their career and their development, like you say, like economy and earning a good revenue as, I need to be able to do this to provide for my family, or I need to be able to advance within my career to move to the next step of what I want to do to develop in my life. Whereas when you have other things like that, they're very time consuming, which makes it sometimes very difficult for you to turn around and go, actually, I need to change my body around. I need to make a change. The want side of things normally comes from social media presence, right? How many times I've spoken with clients about how toxic sometimes social media can become because of this portrait of individuals who are doing and excelling really well with their health and fitness, and make it seem like it's so easy and, why are you not doing it type thing. And, it almost creates that unrealistic nature of what you should look like in comparison to like what generally you should be like within your own health, in comparison to the rest of society type thing. And there's always like that comparison tool that I never really like on that front. Yeah, so you mentioned that. And then also you referred to the idea of, like you say, treating yourself like a business. I think that's a really important message that I also portray to my clients, where it's like, when you are working, you are showing up for the company that you stand for. If you don't do what is set in front of you, the consequences are substantial because those other individuals will have to take responsibility for that, and therefore you will be penalised for that, and that doesn't help with your career stunt and progression. Whereas when it comes to your own health, the only person that you're letting down is yourself. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's so much easier for you to go, oh, that doesn't work quite conveniently with the timescale, or oh, I don't have the energy today, or oh, I really can't be bothered to do that today. It becomes so much easier to go, oh, I'll do it the next day. And then it becomes even easier to say, I'll do it the next day. And then you just create that destructive habit and that snowball effect where it becomes even easier to shy away from that habit. Okay. So obviously when you're trying to be that individual, right, that coach who tries to turn something which is quite independent into something which is quite cohesive, you build that relationship with that individual for them to create a direction, to create a structure, and for them to go ahead and do that. How do you try to become a presence in that individual's life? What are some of the things that you're trying to do to help that individual appreciate how important this is for them?
For sure. Well, I think there's a couple of things. So one is it comes down to accountability. So it's helping them with their own accountability, being present for them, motivating them on a daily basis. But something that I find that with clients, I think when you design a certain amount of things for them, they can find some people, taper into it really well. They love it. They hit the ground running. Some people find it quite overwhelming. They've got a certain amount of things to do, whether that be, hit their calorie content, whether that, their water intake, their training, their cardio, their steps. There's so many things that factor in like a jigsaw that make the whole thing work. And if one thing's not particularly working very well, or they're not doing that one thing, it then becomes a domino effect and the rest kind of fall. And then they think, well, there's no point in me doing the rest then. So I think for myself, there's a floor and there's a ceiling. And I find that with most people, in an ideal world, they're training every single day first thing in the morning and they feel super motivated and they wake up ready for the day. They've, had a really healthy breakfast. And these are all the things that they want. They get their walk in first thing in the morning, the sun's shining, it's a beautiful day. That's what everybody wants first thing in the morning. And that is their ceiling. That's exactly where they want to hit it. However, there's a floor, which I think a lot of people don't touch the floor level of it, where it's just baby steps. If you can only, in that day, just get a couple of steps in and hit your water, but you can't manage to do everything else, that's fine. Giving yourself a little bit of gratitude going forward for the little things that you can do, rather than thinking, these are all the things that I want, but I can't manage to do them today, so I'm not going to do any of it. As long as you're doing one thing, then move on to the next thing when you feel like you can. Then move on to the next thing again when you can, rather than just not tapping into any of it because today's a hard day. It's just being accountable for the little things that you do and also celebrating the little wins that you do have every single day. I answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it kind of refers back to that snowball effect, right? Everything you want to do on a day-to-day basis is on the basis of, okay, what is going to be achievable to myself in the day and what is going to be sustainable to a point where it's not going to affect the rest of my lifestyle. Like I said, we're not trying to change people's hierarchy to the point of going around and going, right, health and fitness needs to be the forefront of what you're doing over your family and why. That's not what we're trying to send that message across at all. What we do want to do, however, is not to become overwhelmed by everything else where this now becomes detrimented by it. We need to find out, okay, what can I attain myself to, like you're saying, on a day-to-day basis? And then when it comes to it and I go, okay, maybe I'm too busy, or maybe I didn't prepare myself correctly in that sense on that day, or, different things like that. That's where you want to develop and you want to work on as a character and as an individual to make sure that you put yourself in the best position to get the most out of your day when it comes to it, whilst balancing everything else out around you. I think one thing that I've always found with individuals, and you kind of touched on it a little bit when it comes to when you've obviously had your experience within the gym, where you're watching individuals do the same things and you're watching them do the same wrong techniques and different things like that. I always refer to it as the term of lunacy, right? When you try to do the same thing over and over and over again, and yet you still expect a different outcome to come out of it. It just doesn't work like that in any kind of any way, shape, or form with life, right? We're always trying to develop, always trying to improve. That's just the way things are. So if everything stayed stationary, stayed the same, nothing would ever grow. And then we need to find that kind of like connotation in ourselves and how we develop ourselves in health and fitness. So again, another point that you touched on was a little bit about jigsaw pieces. Okay, so trying to manage certain things within our like kind of lives, whether it be the hydration markers, sleep markers, stress markers, time availability, training, nutrition, all of those things that we need to put into consideration for what is going to be accessible for us on that day and what can I get out of it specifically with the time that I have. So for you as a coach, when chatting to an individual, what are some of the markers or the flags that you're trying to listen to people to really understand, okay, this is what your availability will truly look like?
Sure, it's just about getting their daily routine. So the moment they wake up, what do they do? What do they do when they wake up? What are they doing when they go to bed? And I find that most of my clients are very honest, very transparent. They'll admit that before starting our journey, they'll waste their time on Instagram scrolling before they go to bed, which ultimately is affecting their sleep. They're not having good sleep. They wake up in the middle of the night, usually for the toilet. Which shows that they're either trying to get their water in before bed or they've just been drinking quite late, which again is disrupting them, which sets them up again bad for the next day because they're not getting good sleep, for XYZ reasons that I've just mentioned there. So it's kind of figuring out their diary and exactly what they are doing in a daily basis and trying to figure out how we can change things going forward for them. So if they're waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning or 5, whatever it may be, when are they having their first meal? Most people skip their breakfast or their first meal, and then they'll get to work. They'll end up having a snack on their way to work or on their train, which usually consists of, let's say, a latte with sugar and a croissant, again, very high in sugar. But they've skipped a good healthy meal, which could have lasted them for a long period going up to their lunch, their second meal. And then on their second meal, they haven't prepped for the day or prepped on the weekend for their week. Therefore, they're getting a meal deal, and it usually consists of some high-calorie, poor nutrition sandwich with a chocolate bar and a sugary drink.
Yeah.
So again, it's looking into the finer details of the way that they live their lives day by day and feeling how you can rectify that and work with them going forward. I found that most of my clients are doing really well at the moment of prepping, and I've tried to give them tips on how to prep in such an easy manner going forward. I used to have a meal prep company many years ago when lockdown first hit. So I've kind of give them tips of the trade of the things that I used to do, how to bulk cook to make sure it's the same consistently every single time. And quite a few of my clients have got back to me and mentioned that, nutrition doesn't need to be boring. Being healthy really doesn't need to be boring. I think people have this stigma of chicken, rice and broccoli is the only way to be healthy, or a salad.
The typical one,
which is quite strange. I found that a lot of my clients think, if they haven't prepped their meals, their go-to is a salad, and I don't quite understand that. Again, poorly nutritioned, and it doesn't really have much in it. But then they'll top it off with sugary sauces just to make it go down a little bit better. So yeah, I think it's ultimately about really understanding your clients, really understanding people, what has made them tick for a long period of time, and how we can rectify their bad habits, and how we can motivate them into better habits going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that obviously we touch on is the idea of preparing, right? I always use the phrase that if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. Like you say, when you're working on the pretense of quickly trying to think of like different solutions or things that you need to be doing, that time that you're procrastinating makes you seem like you are much busier than you actually are. You're just cutting more and more into leisure time, which you may already be starved of already. So being able to prepare yourself, like you say, with your meals, with your time auditing, just opens up a little bit more time where actually that thought process and that or could I be doing this, could I be that, it's chopped and changed, and it just opens up a little bit more flexibility on that front.
Yeah.
All right, but let's talk a little bit about you specifically. Okay, obviously you mentioned before that you are an individual who worked previously as a personal trainer within a gym setting and now moved to online coaching. What were some of the limitations that you had working with an individual or a client when working with them in person that you've now found much more flexible and much easier to control now that you're working in an online setting?
Yeah, for sure. So I found that when when you are a PT, I'm the kind of person that does like going that extra mile for people. I like to keep them accountable day by day. But you find with a lot of clients, they don't really want to talk to you outside of their sessions. They don't. They want to kind of come in, get their session done, and go home. When they start with you, don't get me wrong, they're really excited for the journey. They have this dream of this goal that they're heading towards, and you are their savior going forward. However, they're not really willing to put in the work outside of seeing you in that session. They'll tell you that they're dipping into their calories. They tell you that they're following it. They tell you that they are weighing themselves daily, or getting their daily step count in, or turning up to the gym on the days that they haven't got the sessions with you. However, results show that they don't. 90% of maybe 90% is a little bit too high, but most of the time you'll find that most clients don't. They kind of want you to have this magic wand or magic pill for when they first come in them sessions that you're training them. They're going to have lost 2 kilograms or put 2 kilograms of muscle on, or whatever their goal is. They're expecting that to change dramatically within that one session. Then they don't continue after that until their next session, whether that be 1 session a week, 3 sessions, whatever that may be. And then on the weekend, they go out and, they indulge in calories, calorific drinks, whether that be alcohol or whatever it may be, and they relax because they think, oh, well, I've put in good hard work in that session, so I don't really need to do anything else. Like I said, I can't speak on behalf of every client because some are great, but the mass majority of people do just dip into that one session. Where I found with the online coaching, keeping the accountability every single day, the daily touch points with my clients, every single morning, making sure that, they're set up for the day, they're feeling motivated. I don't know if I'm getting annoying to my clients, but they are saying I'm motivating them going forward every single day. Hearing my voice the first thing in the morning, hopefully motivates them. But yeah, that daily accountability, the touch points every single day, a couple of times a day, making sure that, they are ticking off their boxes, whether that be their calorie content, whether that, staying within their macros, because I found that quite a few of my clients, they want to stay within the calories, but they're not hitting the proteins, they're not hitting the fats or the carbs, they just want to hit the calories. So it's about keeping them accountable for everything that we put in place for them. And I found that it's a lot more beneficial, and it's a lot more sustainable going forward. They'll keep them results for a longer period of time because of the touch points that we're doing with them, because the things that we put in process going forward for them. And ultimately, it's a lot more enjoyable because I feel like I can, contact my clients a lot more, and get to know them a lot more.
Yeah.
That 1-2 session a week that I only know them for, where mostly they vent about their life in our sessions, not really doing the work. Where I found with this, it's predominantly we're running them like a business, which ultimately they should be, because they're putting their love and they're turning up to work every single day to make sure they're providing for themselves and their family, but they're not putting the love back into themselves to make sure that they are surviving for their family for a long many years to come, which is what we're trying to do, given that longevity and that sustainability. So I find that it's a lot more beneficial doing it online.
Good, yeah. I think I mentioned it before on the podcast, isn't it? It's turning something which is very independent and intrinsic to themselves, whether it be based on a health scare, whether it be on a comprehension of desire to improve health, social media presence that I mentioned before. People who join personal training programs normally initially join on that basis. And if we look at plenty of psychological studies with Albert Bandura and a few other individuals like that, and we really look into theory of cognitive behavioral change, we always know that before you even take action on your health and fitness and you sign yourself up to a gym or you start to work with a personal trainer, you'll always have a pre-comprehensive stage. You'll then comprehend the idea of how you're going to take that to action, and then you'll make action on it, whether that be with that PT. The difficult part of creating that habit is then that maintenance phase between that 1 to 3 months and then that 3 to 9 months, where you're really contributing yourself to something, and then within that stage there's going to be, like you said, there's going to be something going on with their personal life, or they're going to be traveling, or their leisure time is going to be cut off, or whatever the circumstance may be. And that's usually the time or period of time when people either cut it off entirely, or they drop their availability a little bit more, which then puts them into more of a destructive mindset, because that habit's not actually truly being formed or created. You're still having to put some cognitive effort into the idea of getting yourself into the gym, or eating healthy, or trying to stay within your sleep routines that you've mentioned there. So having that opportunity where you are a presence to that individual, contacting them every day, and then feeling in the back of their mind that if they don't do something, it's not just them that they're not showing up for, it's you as their coach, that leader, that they're also letting down. It's kind of that sense of, okay, I need to step up now. I need to show up for both of us, so we can both, I get the results that I want, and also my coach can get what they want out of me as well. And like you say, it's very much like a business model, isn't it?
People seem to find that it's easier to do things for other people rather than to do it for themselves. So when they've got a coach that is doing the daily checks with them, saying, I'm with you 100%, I just need you to do the whatever it is, I find that they tend to do it a lot more, because like you just said, they're not just doing it for themselves, they're going to let down their coach as well, which ultimately they don't want to do, because they're ultimately just letting themselves down. So yeah, I find that accountability, helps a lot.
Yeah, and I think that strives as well from the idea of rapport building, right? Like you say, the more you show up for that individual, the more you educate them, the more open and honest you are with that individual. If you feel they're not showing up on their side, you build that trust. And trust is the most important thing within anything, really, right? You have to trust an individual who's taking scope of your life, whether it be, okay, do I trust the career pathway that my higher ups within the company are going to show through for my career development? Am I being that individual that my family can trust, because I'm the one that's trying to show up for them and trying to benefit them in every means of life that I can do? It just comes to the same to us as coaches, is we want to have that positive influence where we are creating a pathway, creating a journey for that individual, so they go, okay, I'm all in. I know where we're going. I know where I need to be. I know the timeline that I can do that in if I attain myself to it. Let's crack on. Let's go. So that's kind of like what I found when I moved into the transition of this kind of sector, is that it's gone from a sense of it being more of an onus on that individual to show up and walk through that front door, to I'm now the one knocking on their door, and I'm going, what's going on? Are we in control of this? Are we staying in control of that? And that accountability, that sustainability element that you mentioned there, I find as well that this online platform makes things so much more effective and efficient at being able to carry on with an individual, particularly for a long-term period of time. No, I really do appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences, how you found, obviously, your position with the coaching position online with us so far. I'm sure we'll see more of you and hear a few more things about you in future. But thank you very much, guys, for taking the time to listen to our podcast for today. Again, if you do have any topics of interest, do leave your comments in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to address them when we do get an opportunity. But before we jump off, Jay, do you have any final messages?
No, just keep turning up, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I'll give our clients a good message. Keep ticking those boxes, guys.